Chiefs. Let's switch gears, though, within the AFC to a team that has a half a dozen Super Bowl rings of their own, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin is known league-wide as one of the best motivators out there. He's got an uncanny ability to connect on a personal level with his guys, to have them buy into his team concept. Steelers released a behind-the-scenes video of a speech Tomlin gave to the team during an off-season workout. Here's a sneak peek.
Man, in the growth and development of this thing, man, I'm talking to you about norms, expectations, mindsets that you should have. And it's always good to acknowledge reasonable expectations. I expect you to get better in all areas, man, whether it's the knowledge relative to what it is that you do, the maintenance and the preparation of your body, the understanding of the game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You need to continually be a guy on the rise. That is a reasonable expectation, as opposed to just coming in here putting in time. What do I mean by that? I mean the things that made you viable in the past aren't going to be the things that make you viable moving forward. You better be continually getting better. As long as you're sitting in rooms like this, I ain't doing my job if I'm not pointing that out. You guys that have been here and know what it's about, man, we expect you to be significantly better. Hear the words. You were a young guy, man, we might have tolerated mental errors a year ago. We'll have less tolerance for it moving forward. It's just a reasonable expectation. And so let's just be really transparent, man, about expectations in this business, about how competitive it is. I never want you worrying about people on the outside, even the man sitting next to you. This is a man versus himself battle. You got to be continually pressing to get better with that understanding that this is a highly competitive line of work that we're in.
It's a very appropriate name for that show. You can see more of Coach Tomlin's speech in the next episode of The Standard on the Steelers YouTube channel coming soon. Everything that man says in that context, when you're in a production meeting with him, when you're interviewing him, everything is so said with such conviction. It's incredible. Jason, respond to what we just heard.
Mike Tomlin's a coach. Coming out my rookie year, you get drafted. He used to put on this rookie symposium. It was in West Palm Beach my year, and he was the guy that came in and spoke to all the rookies. And I can remember, and I was just like, at this point, if ever in my career I could get a chance to play for this guy, I would love the opportunity. As you listen to him, and he's a guy where he leaves you with what I call like tweetables, things that you can just pull out of any conversation and you can just tweet it and people know exactly what you're talking about. When he says reasonable expectation, it's just like if you're a young guy sitting in that room, you're like, man, I got to step my game up. If you're Cam Hayward sitting in that room, as good as a player as I've been, I have to do more. There's a reasonable expectation that's different than the guys around me. A guy on the rise. I'm always getting better. I'm trying to improve myself. He says significantly better. How do you define that? There's so many things that when guys leave that room and you go away from the summer, you can just write these things down. And the last thing he said towards the end was, this is a man versus himself battle. And the things Mike Tomlin talks about are not just football related. They're things that you can just pull over at any point in your life and apply it to. We're all having these type of battles and you're trying to figure it out. And anytime Mike Tomlin speaks, you just get fired up. His most notable, the standard is the standard. And every time you hear him, you're like, my goodness, the standard just rose up another level.
Definitely, man. I feel like he's very well respected, you know, especially for me, playing against him my rookie year and the respect I've earned from him and so on and so on. But a coach like that caliber, man, it gets no better. Every word he said is very true because you cannot stay the same in this game. You have to find a way to get better each and every day, work on your craft, whatever it may be, catching more balls, working on speed, getting stronger. And a special point he made about the MEs, mental errors, they do not accept it as much. So it's about growing, understanding, getting better, understand the system you're playing in, and understand like this is your job. Take it serious. At the end of the day, it's a business too. You will be cut.
Tomlin is famous for having conversations with some of the opposing players on the sideline. You've had some big days against Pittsburgh. He ever have any chatter with you during those games?
Yeah, even prior, before the game, we always talk, warming up, handshakes, because I respect him. He's African-American. He's been doing this for a long time. And at the highest, you know, I don't think he's rarely had a losing season.
No,
Nope.
he hasn't.
You know, so, I mean, that's big. So now I respect him.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I always like in the room when they hold the veterans accountable. That whole thing about you have to get better every year. I don't care if you were Pro Bowl, All-Pro. Like, that was last year. I don't care if you're 10 years in.
Yep.
I see those speeches, and you guys sit through so many of those. It's so many speeches and meetings. Isn't it tough to punctuate the dreariness, like to have something that actually jumps out and sticks out and gets you to go from actually listening to thinking about what you're going to do, what's after this? How do you do that? How do those coaches get you guys to, oh man, that was really something you just said in these 10,000 speeches you've made?
Some of them don't.
Some of them
That's
don't.
why you're not a coach for a long time, because there's a lot of times, there's only certain ones that can sit there and have a meeting for 30, 40, maybe up to an hour, and you're actually paying attention because they've done it, they've experienced it. And for those guys, for Mike Tomlin, you've stood in front of that room at this point in a season where you're getting ready to send guys off. You know what to expect. You've experienced it, you've seen it, but there's not many of them that can hold your attention. But that's what I mean. Tomlin talks in a way of he says things that just stick out to you and you gravitate towards them. And then his ability to change his tone. Like, you feel like you're going to play every time he's having a conversation.
I do
It's
always
really cool.
appreciate his delivery. It's so true. And the one line, the humility line that stood out to me, which was like, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't remind you of these things, which, like, he is also on the line and on the hook for a lot of these things, which you have to respect. Respect the fact that, guys, we have 3 interviews now coming up.
All
We're going to
right.
talk to a lot of